I don't know, but again, some of I think she wasn't. I'm going to add some stuff. Um, Anyways, this week's parsha, one of the things that it talks about is the first marriage. That very openly the Torah talks about, because we know that the first people that got married were Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, but the Torah doesn't talk about their wedding. The Medrash says, exactly, God Himself was involved in beautifying Chava, putting on her diamonds, things, weaving the hair, whatever God did to make it very presentable or too presentable to Adam. And then also we find in the Torah that says Avram got married to Sarah. It says that clearly. It says Vaikach lo Isha, took a wife, got married, but doesn't really talk about the details of the marriage. In this week's parsha, where Yitzchak is going to get married to Rivka, you have a lot of details. We're going to talk about the important parts first. Then we're going to talk about the parts that nobody's going to disagree about. The parts that some people might disagree, put for the end. But anyways, when Avram Avinu tells Eliezer, I wanted to go to my hometown and find somebody from my family. So obviously he has Eliezer, the Shadchan, he's like the matchmaker. He has to find someone that is suitable for his master's son. So he has to make a sign. Everybody knows this part. What's the sign that he makes? Says, what, all the girls are coming to draw water from the wells. I'm going to walk over to a certain girl. I'm going to ask her, please give me some water to drink. And if she's going to give, only for myself, but if she's going to say, I'm going to give you water to drink, and I'm going to draw water for all your camels, so that is the person that you have designated for my master's son. That's what Eliezer says. Very unlike of what we talk about today. Talk boys want to get, she's beautiful. How old is she? I'm saying all this stuff that they ask. But again, why did he choose these signs? I mean, we're not talking about just a regular wedding. We're talking about a wedding of Rivka, our mother, who was going to be the mother of all the Jewish people. Definitely has a very great lesson for us. So the lesson number one that we learn is, when you go to look for a spouse, you have to look for good character traits. That's number one. As we say, it's not the size of the skirt, and it's not size of the ring, it's size of the heart. So that's what the first sign that Eliezer looked for was, what, I'm a total stranger, and I'm going to ask her, give me a little bit water. Now, what was so generous about it? Because there's a whole argument. How old was Rivka at that time? Most of us only know Rashi, that she was 3 years old, but she was a very mature 3 years old. I think Tosfot in Masechta Yevamot, it says was around 15 or something, but it was a teenager. That's what Tosfot says. Logically makes more sense, but again, um, so as a stranger, she could have told Eliezer, listen, you look like a very healthy guy yourself, and Eliezer wasn't alone. He brought 10 people with him, because each one had a camel to take care of, loaded with gifts and stuff. Not only that, the Gemara says, or Semedrash actually, why did they bring 10 people? They wanted to make the brach of Erusin, which means the engagement. So you need 10 people, 10 men. That's what the Medrash says. So he could have said, take my picture and go draw water for yourself. That would be very generous. She's lending her picture to them to use. And especially Eliezer was an older person, stronger person. According to Rashi, she was 3 years old. You expect a 3-year-old to go draw water for others. But nevertheless, we see that this is the sign that he chose, because it shows total act of kindness to a stranger. That's a sign of a good spouse, a good wife. Not only that, she actually drew water for the camels too. Now, a person doesn't drink much. When you talk about camels drink a lot, because they travel far away, so they have to drink a lot to whatever, store it in their body. She probably had to go up and down many times, more than once. So that's the first sign that we look for, that if this person is a kind person or not. One of the questions that they usually ask, I don't know if it applies today, if they do it today or not. They always ask, for boys, obviously, for girls too, for boys especially, what does she do during her free time? They always ask that. Does she do projects of chesed? Like, let's say once in a while she goes to an old age home, taking care of old people, or whatever, does he volunteer time to do, good things for other people. That's what that, or in the free time, she's only taking care of his or her needs. You know what I'm saying? He's taking care of his needs, she's taking care of her needs. That's number one thing that you look for, if she's a kind and a good person. Second thing, that the commentators make notice, and this part might seem very funny. He says, I'm going to ask the girl, let me drink from your pitcher. Anybody here drinks from a pitcher? I mean, you don't even drink from a 2-liter bottle of Coke. No one does that. Very few people do it. Anybody knows who Samad is? You never watched the movie Samad in Iran? But it's already outdated. But he was a guy that he would drink from a pitcher. He used to get this whole plate of chelu kebab and put it in front of his mouth and just push it in. That's Mr. Samad. Samad is a person maybe that drinks from a pitcher. But what would Eliezer ask to drink from a pitcher? Even though you could say, we didn't mean that, let me drink from your pitcher means pour in a cup. But the Torah says, Hagminina mikadech, which means let me take a sip from your pitcher. So many commentators said it was actually testing the sensitivity and the wisdom of this girl with asking that. Because if he's going to drink from the pitcher, people's saliva has a lot of diseases, maybe. You saw it by, COVID. Just breathe and somebody else might get sick. So he said, I'm going to drink from the pitcher. Now, she's going to have two choices. What is she going to do with the pitcher that she has in her hands? Either she's going to take it home. That's why she's a very foolish girl, taking a disease there, something, maybe diseases home. Or she could say, you know what? You made it dirty. I'm going to pour it on the floor. So that would embarrass a little bit Eliezer. Like somebody drinks from your cup, throw it out, because I'm disgusted. So that's why he said, if he's going to draw water for my camels, what she did, she actually poured the rest of the water in the troughs, in the places that camels were going to drink. So that shows her sensitivity and wisdom. That was a test that Eliezer put, according to the commentators. So what we learn from here is actually when we look for a spouse, number one, the main thing is that he or she is a kind person. Obviously, he has to have brains too. Some people are very kind, but they get angry very fast and they just destroy the kindness that they did. But it has to be a smart person, a very sensitive person. These are the qualities that you have to look for. Another point that we actually learn from there, when Eliezer was convinced that she's going to be the wife, so the Torah says that he gave him a nose ring. These two were nose rings those days. It's coming back, right? That people have nose rings. Please, men, don't do that. If you want to go to Africa, do it. I mean, ladies do it. Do men do it too? No, please don't do it. Okay. That's good. There is no mitzvah to have a nose ring. You want to have it, you could have it, but there's no mitzvah. It's not like tefillin or making a broch on a food. I have no idea. It was. It still is in Africa. Nobody's African. You're talking about the religious, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, also with earrings that boys have, people like look at it. They look at it like, oh, what is this guy doing wearing an earring? It's not a sin. It's just not a Jewish custom. So, they look at it very, very bad. Have you ever seen if yeshiva boys wear jeans? I'm thinking real yeshiva boys. Not, I mean, if they're like real Haredi, Orthodox yeshiva. If they wear jeans, they say, oh my gosh, this guy is not religious. There's certain things, whatever, it became the custom. Whatever the reason is. But anyways, it says that he gave her a nose ring and the weight was half a shekel. Why? So Rashi will explain, we're going to learn that. And then also he gave her 2 bracelets, not just one. And it says the weight was 10, whatever the 10 amount is. So Rashi has a question, you want to give gifts, give gifts. The Torah has a reason that is telling us that it was half a shekel, the nose ring, and there were 2 bracelets, not 5, not 1. And then he's saying the weight was 10. What is he teaching us? So Rashi says he was teaching us about the future commandments. He was telling Rivka that in the future the Jews will give half a shekel each for tzedakah once a year, because they had to buy sacrifices. Each Jew had to give half a shekel. It's a nice amount of money. And then also why the 2 bracelets? He was hinting to her that the Jews will receive the 2 tablets. Why is the weight 10 that they're going to get the 10 commandments? What is that supposed to mean? He's what, saying future what? Prophecies? So here actually the commentators learn, he was saying that a foundation of a Jewish home are 2 things. The family has to be charitable. I'm saying we don't just make money for ourselves. If somebody's blessed by God, that he has more than what he needs, so you're not saying a foundation of a Jewish home is actually being generous, giving to others. That's why he gave the nose ring, which was half a shekel, and that showed that in the future Jews will give half a shekel to bring sacrifices. So the foundation of Jewish home is charity. Number two, foundation of a Jewish home is Torah. Really, this is what has kept us religious. That's what has kept us Jewish. Put it this way: is the Torah that our parents gave us. They gave it. They gave it to us. That's why they gave the two bracelets, which are the two tablets, and the weight is 10 to show on the 10 Commandments. Because the 10 Commandments actually includes in itself the entire Torah. There's one man. His name is Rav Sadia Gaon, lived in Bavel, Babylonia years ago. So he makes a notice that the 10 Commandments, they have 620 letters. And that corresponds to the 613 commandments plus the seven that the rabbis added. And actually, in his book, writes down, for example, the Aleph of Anochi resembles certain mitzvah. So, one of the things that we learn is you want to have a house, a Jewish home with a strong foundation, is keeping Torah mitzvah, studying the Torah, and actually being very generous, giving charity. These are the two great things that makes a Jewish family very, very successful. If you have any questions on this. We're going to go to another two cases, very controversial, we'll talk about. You might not like it. The other part is, we many times think, at least in the Western world, that, I don't have to listen to anybody, not to my parents, not to my matchmaker. Whoever I want to marry, I'm going to marry. So usually what happens is you go to a party, you go to a wedding, whatever, you have your sweetheart from high school or from college, you don't know much about each other. But you know what? She's cute, he's cute. You know what? Let's go out. Let's see what's going to happen. Isn't that what happens in the Western world? And the problem is that they really get married to a fifth or sixth person that they get emotionally involved with. Now, what's the problem with that when you say, let's go out, let's see what's going to happen later on? If you get emotionally attached, which is a good thing, hopefully, but then let's say after 6 months of dating, you find out something not so good about the boy or the girl. Like whatever this expression is, some skeletons comes out of the closet. So then you're going to get upset. And actually, it's a very, very big torture. I call it you'll have hangovers for a few weeks, for a few months, because you're emotionally involved. And then that's it. Your whole emotion is completely crushed or crashed, whatever you want to say. That's what they said. The best thing is actually a person should do their homeworks before. You have to decide what you like to do. Who do you want to get married to? What kind of person you're looking with, the qualities that you think is good for you. And then give it to your parents. If you're not close to your parents or they don't understand your mentality, you have a mentor, you have a rabbi, you have a rebbetzin, whoever you got. Could even be a matchmaker if you're close to. But I want to warn you, not always matchmakers care. Sometimes matchmakers just put two people together. But someone that really cares, there are a lot of good matchmakers too. So you know what you want, and there's nothing in the closet that you're going to worry about. Many people say, I don't want to marry the person that I know. I'd rather marry a person I don't know. But the truth is, the person that you know how he acts when he's angry. You know how she acts when she's angry. So there's no more surprises. Nothing will come out of the closet. The people that you don't know, you might get surprises. But say, well, I don't see him or her to be like my husband or like my wife. I feel he or she's like my brother. Believe me, that's not true. When you go under the same roof, the love will grow if it's a good person. If you see the potential, doesn't matter. You get a lot closer, she or he won't be your brother or sister anymore, be your spouse. So that's for sure. Number two, also, that we learned from this story, Avram was really pushing that I want Eliezer to go to my family and find a wife for my son. Right? The most important thing is the boy and the girl. But many times a good family has an effect too. If the girl is a good girl and the family is a good family, it's a plus. You go for it. Um, why is family very important? The Gemara says, again, people that are Talmid Chachamim, the great people, so you should always find the daughter of a Talmid Chacham for your son, daughter of a scholar. What's the reason? I'm not here to show off. My father is a big Rosh Yeshiva. That's not the reason. But because if the house usually is based on the values of Torah, so the Torah will tell you that a husband has to honor his wife like a queen. The woman is supposed to honor the husband like a king. So they talk, very, very polite. They don't fight. Or even if they do disagree, but they don't fight. So imagine a girl or a boy that's brought up in a family that has Torah values. Probably that will penetrate the mind of the boy and the girl. It's going to permeate their mind. So they're going to have this type of relationship with their husbands or wife. But imagine if somebody comes from a home that the parents never get along, they're always fighting, they're always criticizing. So two things might happen. She or he won't know how to treat the spouse, or God forbid, there's a lot of baggage there. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a big challenge. You got to fix those baggages. So family is definitely important. I'm not saying destroy everything. If the family is not your idea, the most important thing is the girl or the boy himself or herself. But family is definitely a very, very important thing. Any other questions? I hope you're not scared to get married. Listen, I did it and I'm thriving. I'm not just surviving. All your parents got married, they're thriving. Don't worry about it. It's awesome. Anyways, if you have any questions, let's go. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, what she's saying is, my wife speaks Persian. Now, why did she decide to speak Persian? So it's a very interesting story. Always the first year is the hardest year of your marriage. You don't know each other, whatever. So one time, you guys know Rabbi Mansouri? So Rabbi Mansouri came to my house when he was single. I lived in New York then. So I was in Crown Heights, Chabad headquarters. So Yochanan Mansouri came to my house one time. I don't know whatever happened. My wife screamed at me the first day we got married. So I was upset. She screamed at me. So I told Rabbi Mansouri in Persian. His name is Yochanan. You speak Persian, by the way? گفتم Yochanan, zan nagir. Don't get married. She didn't understand what I said. A month later, I totally forgot about the story. A month later, my wife comes to me and says, David, what is Zan? I said, well, Zan, my wife is Israeli, Canadian. Says Zan means a woman, wife. So it says, what does Nagir mean? It means don't get married. So I said, oh, that's what you told Yochanan, shouldn't get married. I'm going to learn Persian. So I can't say any more secrets in front of me. And she learned it. I was like, your wife was Persian. She speaks such well Farsi. But you could see she has an accent. Well, she learned it. I started teaching it, then she learned from the older ladies of the show. Yeah. Speak 7 languages. 6 fluently, almost 7. Spanish. Well,
in your opinion, what do you think? Because you keep talking about marriage, but what do you think makes a person like ready for marriage? Or you think that depends on the person?
I think it depends.
What do you define marriage as? Like,
I mean, you got to be ready and committed to take care of yourself and somebody else. Please don't get married if you need somebody to fill up your vacuum.
But do you think that is more in the sense of like emotionally, or it's more in the sense of like textbook, like this is what this person has financially, physically, this, that, textbook, this is what this person has. What do you think makes a person more ready?
He has to, I think he has to be emotionally ready. Yeah, he's, in other words, he's ready to take responsibility. I think so. Because even if he has all the money, he's not ready to take responsibility. He's going to make himself and his spouse or her spouse miserable.
But as long as you have the emotional aspect,
I think so. But you have to take responsibility. Sorry.
Consider marriage to be very like textbook. This is a contract. This is how you're going to do it.
Let me just shut this out. What was that?
A lot of people consider marriage to be more of like a business thing. Because I also think it's more of like an emotionally like readiness type of thing, but people think that like, okay, like you have to marry a person with these qualifications, and then you have to be at this point in your life and have to make this much like financially and this much like, to be able to like get married.
And those things make it or break it.
Yeah.
I think that's wrong. That's my opinion. Because not every person that makes a lot of money has a happy marriage. But people that are ready to take responsibility, honestly, I think they have much more happier marriage. I mean, money is important too. But I had a teacher said money is like toilet. Imagine you have to go to the bathroom and there's no toilet around. It's very painful. So it makes you comfortable basically, but doesn't make you happy. When I got married, I had only $250 in my account. My wife had 50. I was a rich guy compared to my wife. And um,
like emotional readiness. Like I don't mean to like put us on the spot. Like, do you think like any of us like emotionally like we'd be able to like come out and like get married like next week?
I don't know if you could get married next week, but I think if you go with the right mindset, once you get to your mid-20s, I think you're definitely ready.
I mean, you need to go through like struggle.
I'm listening. Nobody says we are perfect. None of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But if I'm ready to admit my mistakes and take responsibility, it will be okay. I made mistakes.
But you think like whatever it is, it's like a figure it out type of thing?
Well, you have to have some idea.
I'm only like saying that because like I'm 21. I've seen a lot of like 18-year-olds get proposed to
There's
this
a lot
week,
of young.
and it's been like getting stuck in my head. Just this week, it's like been stuck in my head.
But some of them got divorced and some of them are very successful marriages.
Yeah.
The ones that got divorced had no idea what marriage is all about.
And I'm like, when I was 18, I didn't know what was left and what was right.
Okay, so then you are not ready then.
But then, like, how do you know you are ready? Like, how do those 18-year-olds like
They don't
not to
follow-
judge them? Like, I'm actually looking up at them. Like, how are they like?
Maybe the 18.
I guess you figure it out inside. I guess they've ask them.
No, I don't think. When you see like on Simple Spot or something, like I don't
Oh, I
think
see.
I'm gonna like message
Okay,
any of
no,
them.
no. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was very afraid when I got married, but not because I wasn't ready to take responsibility. I was worried about, Parnasa. I mean, yeshiva, going to kollel. But emotionally, I was ready to take responsibility with another person.
And everything else like worked itself out.
Everything else worked out. Money was never an issue. I mean, if the guy is not lazy, if she's not lazy, he's not lazy, they're willing both to go to work. I don't see it as a problem. I was 24, my wife was almost 19. I just turned 24 when I got married.
I'm running out of time.
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I mean, I got to tell you something. I have three children. And both of them, the two oldest ones, got married very young. But my youngest son is not ready. He just doesn't want to take responsibility. He's 28 years old. So I'm sending him through therapy right now. I'm saying he's going through therapy, different types of therapy. He has definitely certain anxieties, certain fears, and if you're going to push him to get married, it's not good. So he's getting more and more ready, but again, depends on the person. But he's honest. He says, "I'm not ready." So okay, you're not ready.
People like get divorced because they like rushed into it
Exactly.
and then they just like stop.
So you have to be mature enough, to take responsibility and risks at the same time. And I think really mid-20s is an awesome age.
If the person that you're dating or whatever makes you a better person, and vice versa, that should be like.
But let me ask you a question. How do you take responsibility to go to work? You made a couple of mistakes probably at your work, but you're ready to go to work. You have to get up 7 in the morning and you come dead tired at 5 in the afternoon. But again, you look at it. I want to do it because whatever I need to make money is good for my future. So you take the commitment. If somebody again says, you know what, I want to make a family, these are the challenges through studying, actually go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. What do I have to be ready for if I get into married life? And there are a lot of good therapists, religious therapists. They make you ready. These are the challenges you got to be ready for. If you know what you're getting into, I mean, okay, it's harder than a job, obviously, no big deal. If you walk out of a job, no big deal. Find a job later. You can walk out of a marriage. But if you study about it, I think you can definitely take care of it. Don't be afraid. You all did it.
It's crazy. It's a crazy idea to just sit on,
And also, you have like a lot of life to live.
It was one time. And then like half the people are saying you have a lot of life to live, and half the people are saying.
No, don't. Honestly, if you feel you really take responsibility, don't push it up after 25. After that, it gets a lot more difficult.
Don't make marriage like a chore. It should like come to you.
It should naturally.
It should like. Don't really go like I have to get.
Like I have seen a lot of people. Again, they were picky. I'm not saying no, they were picky, and then they said, "I don't want this boy, I don't want this girl." And then what happens is when they turned and they're religious. Once they turned 30, and all the religious guys were married because nobody waits that long. That to make so much, concessions and so much compromise, and then there are end up marrying a person who was not that religious, promised to become religious, and it didn't work out, and now they're miserable. So definitely don't go for 100%. If the boy has 70, 80% is good enough. If the rest, I'm saying you could live it. And I think the earlier the better if you're ready to take the challenge. My opinion. I told you it's like a job. How didn't you read?
No, like
you can't like experience that. Like there's nothing similar to the
No.
idea of marriage.
It's not. But before you get a job, how do you know you're ready for a job? Before you got a job, how do you know you're ready for a job?
You just came into it. You're like, whatever it is. If it doesn't work out, I'll quit.
Oh no, marriage can be I'm gonna quit. But you gotta take
I went
responsibility.
into my job really thinking that like if I didn't like it, I'm quitting.
No, marriage can be like that. You gotta say, this is my soulmate. Whatever I do for myself. No, of course, but you have to be ready. But you have to be ready to take responsibility. You have to decide that he or she is my other half. Whatever I do for myself, I want to do for my spouse.
And you wouldn't marry someone unless you know you're gonna marry them. Like you're gonna say, oh my god, I'm not married.
There would have some understanding that
No, you know what I mean.
Anyways, that was a good topic.
Very good talk.
Yeah, I know.
You just get into this space when you're like looking at other people's lives and you're like, that couple got divorced, that couple got married.
You know, and there's so many couples that are successful, you know. It just depends on the person. By the way, you know, in the religious society, you know, when you're ready to get married, usually when your classmates start getting married.
So,
That's usual. No, that's in the religious community. I was like one of the last two in my class to get married because I was the youngest. I was 2 years younger than everybody else. So, I mean, I wasn't that worried because I was 2 years younger than everybody else. But I started getting worried.
People in my class are having babies.
All right.
You talking about the Persians? Persians?
I did not go to the same school as you guys.
you will be.
I went to the religious school.
Did you go to Beis Yaakov?
I went to Parshat.
But Torah doesn't have high school.
I know, but people that I used to like.
Oh, I see. For the youngest. All right, guys. So let's see. What was the next thing that we're going to discuss?
Actually, I know your age. I know the person.
Ooh. We're saying my age is different.
21. No, I'm 20. Different.
You're
Different, bro. Different.
Okay, guys. Let's just do one more thing, and then we're going to be finished. Sorry for because my son's coming to pick me up. You know, one of the things that I wanted to what? No, that's fine. It was good. Don't worry. You're not just here to listen. We're here to discuss things. See, one of the things that we're going to discuss about is actually a real life of a person. This week's parsha is called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. The problem with this is that, you know, many commentators ask that the name of a parsha really, it's a short summary of the entire parsha. For example, the first parsha is called Bereshit, beginning, talks about the beginning, the creation. Parshat Noach talks about Noach. You know, Lech Lecha talks about all the travelings of Avram. Chayei Sarah means life of Sarah in simple terms. But really the entire parsha doesn't talk about his life, her life. The first pasuk says that Sarah lived 147 years, and then it says she died in Hebron. So the first two verses talk about her death, not Chayei Sarah, not life of Sarah. Not only that, everything that happens in this week's parsha actually is connected to the things that happen after her death. Like the first part of the parsha speaks about burying Sarah. Burial is the opposite of life. Now, when somebody loses a mother, honestly, it's a very big tragedy, father or mother, especially a mother. I guess boys are very close to their moms. So it says that when, you know, somebody misses the mom, how does he get consoled if somebody loses the mother? So Rashi says when a guy who's single and the mother passes away, when he gets married, so his wife consoles him, takes the place of the mom. Adam becomes the mother. So it says mitznachem, he gets consoled. So the second part of the parsha talks about Yitzchak getting married. So even the memory of his mother was forgotten because he got consoled. So talk about something that completely we forget Sarah, even the memory of Sarah. The last part of the parsha talks about Avram Avinu, Abraham, getting married again to Hagar. The parsha says he got married to a woman called Keturah. Some commentators learn it's a third woman, it's not Hagar. But Rashi and also the Medrash says really Keturah is Hagar. And the reason why she's called Keturah because she was a wonderful lady. You know, she did repentance, and her actions were as beautiful as Ketoret. Ketoret is those, you know, incenses that burnt in the Beit HaMikdash. So when he got married to Hagar, isn't that anti-Sarah? Because when Sarah was alive, he said, sent out Hagar with the son Ishmael. They can't live together with Yitzchak. But here brings her back. So why is this Parsha called Chayei Sarah? So we're going to go through actually a very simple answer. The simple answer that's given is, there's actually a Gemara, I don't know if I spoke about it or not, the Gemara in Masechta Tani says, Rabbi Yochanan said, Yaakov Avinu, our father, never died. So the Gemara says, what do you mean Yaakov never died? Of course he died. It says that they embalmed him and they mourned for him for 70 days and they buried him in Marat HaMachpelah in Hebron. So Rabbi Yochanan answers, I'm learning it from a verse. And what we know from the verse, from the Pasuk is, Mazaru b'chaim, afu b'chaim. Just like children of Yaakov are alive, Yaakov is alive too. Now all the Jewish people are alive. These are Yaakov's children, so Yaakov is alive too. What does the Gemara mean really? Because we're alive, that means Yaakov is alive. So one of the things that actually the Lubavitch Rebbe explains very beautifully is that especially every Jew, especially tzaddikim like Yaakov, their main life is not the 120 years or 147 years or 90 years that live on this earth. Those are, our limited life. The real life of a tzaddik is the way it says in Tanya. It's, the basic book of Chabad, that the life of a tzaddik is emuna ava yira, the faith in God, love of God, and fear of God. Basically, our spiritual life. This is a real life of a righteous person. And, even everybody, Jews, non-Jews understand that. I think I said it Monday night. When somebody passes away, God forbid, when they come and they eulogize him or her, they don't say he had $2 million in the bank. Wow, I was such a rich guy. He had 5 types of cars. He actually had 5 villas all over the world. Nobody even cares to talk about it. What they talk about is the kind deeds that they did. Was generous, I don't know, did free things for people, saying was kind, you would let a smile, make somebody happy. They always talk about the character trait because they know the real life of a person is the spiritual side, the impact that he put on the world, not how much physical things he gained. So even the non-Jews, anybody, any good human being understands it. So this is really what the Gemara means, that Yaakov never died because the real life of Yaakov was his spiritual life. And he gave that to his kids. So now Jewish people continue the life of Yaakov. So really what happened, the true life of Yaakov is continuing through the children. The only thing that changes the body. Before Yaakov, his legacy was going through his own body. Now that Yaakov died, so the body is separated, his soul, his real life is in the body of his children because his children are continuing to do the good things, the spiritual life that he had. This is what the Gemara means. Just like his children are alive, Yaakov is alive too. Meaning that he actually lives through us. Even the non-Jews use this type of words. It says, your grandparents live through you. That's exactly what it is. So now we understand why the parsha is called Chayei Sarah, life of Sarah, because whatever was the idea of Sarah continued in this parsha. The Torah purposely calls it Chayei Sarah to teach us that the real life of Sarah was not the 127 years physically living here, was the spiritual side of her, and that continued afterwards. Where do we see that? First of all, like the beginning, it says when Sarah was alive, there was always a cloud on top of her tent, Rashi brings down. That cloud wasn't a rain cloud. It was like the cloud that surrounded the Jews when they came out of Egypt. It's called the clouds of honor. That showed that God's presence is in the house. When she died, that went away. Rashi brings down a midrash, when she lit the candles, it used to burn for an entire week. Now our girls, our mothers, they light the candles, they don't burn for the whole week. But the Mefarshim already say, it brings a blessing till next Friday into the house. Even though we don't see the candle burning. But again, by Sarah, she was such a righteous person, didn't only bring a spiritual thing in the house, but it actually burned for a whole week. Also, the third thing that Sarah had, whenever she made bread, challah for Shabbos, there was a blessing in the dough, was more than what she wanted to make. So when she died, all these 3 things went away. When Rivka came back, when Rivka got married to Yitzchak, so then these 3 things came back. In the tent of Rachel, there was a cloud, and then the candles were burning for a whole week, and there was a blessing in the food. So that's one thing that we see, that actually her life, Sarah's life, did continue. That's why we call it Chayei Sarah in short. One thing that I forgot to speak about is also regarding marriage. We're going to go back for a second. And that is, the Torah says, when Isaac saw Rivka, it says he brought her to his tent, got married to her, and he loved her. So everybody says in Hollywood walks backwards. You see the person, you love her, you bring it to your tent and you get married. You don't get married and love the person. This is backwards. So, but it's teaching us something. So what it teaches us really is, we could say it in both ways. You could say it with more secular, you could say it more religious way. The true love comes after marriage. That's the religious way, not before. Before might be an infatuation. But if you want to talk about it more secular, as much as love is important before marriage, to maintain that love is more important. It's more important to maintain it after marriage. You see, in the secular world, they go crazy for each other before they get married. And they say, I hope we can keep our love continuing after we get married. And many times it's not like that. You know, when I got married, my father-in-law, who was very Moroccan, tough guy. So he came, I hope you're going to love my daughter just like the day of the wedding. I said, I hope not. So he'll go like, what do you mean? I said, I hope I'm going to love her more. So I said, okay, at least like you love it when you got married. But the point is, really, the love really grows after marriage a lot deeper. Because before marriage, you still don't know your spouse. You know some qualities, there's some things that excite you about him or her, but you truly come to love your spouse after you get married. And that is like they say, is like a vase, like a garden. You got to water it to let it grow. Little stuff that we do for it, not just big stuff, the little stuff that we do, little considerations that we have for each other makes the love grow. We're going to teach the boys a little bit of lessons, because girls are more sensitive. Imagine you come home and there's a bunch of dishes in the sink. What are you going to do?
Yeah, like Kevin.
Huh? You do what?
Nothing. I'm also.
Exactly. That's it. So your wife sees that you care. Exactly. That's what it is. If you find a shirt on the floor, just pick it, put it in the laundry room. The opposite way for the girls to, as busy as you are, honestly, when your husband in the future will come home, just give them a smile. Doesn't cost you anything, but it really enlightens their day. If you know they love some type of food, whether you can cook it yourself, you can go outside and buy it, whatever the situation is. Once in a while, give them the food that they like. These are little stuff, honestly, that make the marriage a lot more meaningful. Then we all gonna have exactly what Yitzchak had. What did Yitzchak have? He brought Rivka into the tent. They got married and then actually loved her. Means they loved her even more. This is a real Jewish marriage. The love grows more and more every time. Thank you for listening.